Hello, and welcome to Horror Movies and Shit. I'm your host, Jim, and with me, as always, is...
Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Jim.
How are you?
I used to work with a girl called Jean. I used to
Mm-hmm.
hate it because, hi, Mark, I'm going to be like, hi, Jean.
Ah.
But it's weird that, right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Where does a rainbow go when it's bad?
Uh, where does the rainbow go when it's bad? Rainbow. I have seen this. This has been on.
I posted it on Facebook.
I saw a lot of people post it. Now I can't remember because I don't want to because it wasn't very fun.
Prism.
Uh,
Okay, I got you one better.
Stay tuned, folks.
What does a dog do that
Dog
people
do.
step into?
What? What does a dog do that people
People
step in?
step into.
Dog do?
No, it's not do.
Uh, uh, bark.
What?
You could
How
step.
do people step into bark?
So bark comes off a tree and you step into it.
No, you step on it. There's a difference. I said step
Well, there might
into.
be a lot, and then
No, 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 no.
you might
I
fall into
said
it.
I said step into.
Right, a door way.
No.
A wolf. Like
Pants.
you're standing on the wolf and then you fall. You step into it.
Mark. The answer is pants. Get it? Pants.
I know. I wish I had my sound card thing with a rim shot.
I love dad jokes.
So Jim will be here all week, folks.
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
Where are you from? Baltimore? That reference.
I have no
That
idea what you
was,
just said, but okay.
you've seen Naked Gun, right?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen Police Squad?
I have.
So I don't know if you remember, there was a part where Frank Drebin was undercover as a comedian.
Oh, I don't remember that
He
part.
was
No.
doing stand-up,
Okay.
and so he was throwing out these funny one-liners, but they weren't funny, which was what was funny about it. He
Oh,
was
gotcha.
like pointing at a guy, "Hey, what do you do? What do you do?" And he's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, how do you know when you're finished?" Anyway, this is a horror podcast, not a comedy one. There
Yeah.
should be no laughter in this podcast.
Then I guess we just shouldn't talk, right?
I mean, you can keep on telling your jokes.
I could, and I'm also drinking, so they could just get worse as this episode goes on.
Hang on, they get worse.
They could. You never know.
Well, speaking of getting worse, we have a topic.
Do we?
We do.
Oh boy.
And
Oh, first of all, I need to say to two of our fans, Sarah and Debbie, I will have your cups shipped out by the end of the weekend.
Okay. Service
Okay.
announcement.
Service announcement, yes.
Yeah.
So back to our topic.
So this is not topic specific episode. It's just something that came up because we asked our loyal fan base if they had any questions, and I think we got two.
I only saw one from Sarah.
We have another one.
Okay.
But we've already covered it. So what was Sarah's question, Jim?
I believe hers was who's your favorite director?
And what movie, right?
Oh, was it what movie? I'm sorry, I don't remember I know there were a few other parts to it.
Let me bring this up.
Please do.
Favorite director, which film, and why?
Okay.
So you don't really speak about directors very much.
I don't. No, you're right. I'm more on the content of the film than I am on the director itself.
So then it got me thinking. Who is Jim's favorite director? And then I'm like, well, his favorite movie's Alien, so maybe it's Ridley Scott.
Is it Alien? Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. What's your favorite movie?
Well, it depends. I have 3.
No. What's the one that you always say on this podcast, Jim?
Well, I do love the movie Aliens
Right.
or Alien,
Oh,
but I also one of my favorite
Flims.
flims is also A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes, Wes Craven was going to be my next.
Yeah.
Um,
I honestly I would have to say if we're looking strictly at directors, it would be Wes Craven because I like a lot more of his work than I do Ridley Scott.
so Ridley Scott is obviously Wes Craven is very much in the horror realm.
Right.
He did a couple of things outside, but Ridley Scott's kind of been all over the place.
Yeah.
So does that influence you because it's not a hard, mainly horror director?
No, because
So here's
Spielberg is also another one of my favorite directors. Like I love almost everything I've seen of Steven Spielberg. So it's got nothing to do with their genre.
right. Spielberg's Poltergeist was amazing.
Toby Hooper, sir. Toby Hooper.
Sure, Jan.
Mm-hmm.
So you would say then Wes Craven, which movie?
It would the first movie of his that I've ever saw was the original A Nightmare on Elm Street, and it will to this day always be my favorite.
So is it the direction or the story, a combination, the acting? Because
So I'll be perfectly honest, it's the nostalgia because I remember the entire scenario of how I first saw the film,
oh
and
god,
then how in awe of it I was as I got to watch it for the first time. Like
okay.
the scene where Freddy cuts off his two fingers, and then the scene where he's Tina's got him under the covers and she rips off his face. It was just amazing to me. Like it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen on screen.
Okay. So who do you think my favorite director is?
Fulci.
No.
No?
No.
Oh.
No, come on now.
I guess your clothes don't tell your story, huh?
I wear lots of different clothes, Jim.
Honestly, Mark, I'm terrible with directors, so I wouldn't even begin to know who your favorite director was. I know your favorite movie, but
to me, this director was head and shoulders above everybody else from the late 70s to the early 90s.
late 70s to early 90s.
Like basically,
Carpenter.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, every movie he made was gold.
I cannot refute that.
Along with his direction, of course, you have Dean Cundey as his director of photography in a lot of his movies too.
Okay.
He had such a wonderful eye for things, and whenever I look at, it's the go-to is The Thing.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, I don't know if there's a better horror movie trilogy than Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy.
Oh, you're talking about like Escape from New York, right? That series.
No. So it's loosely based. These aren't connected directly, but they're all about kind of the end of the world, but in different ways, right?
Okay, explain this to me.
So the first one is The Thing.
Okay.
Right, and that's open-ended. We don't you're pretty sure there's going to be one thing left, right? Because they're just going to both freeze to death.
Right.
And then that leaves it open to a rescue team coming and maybe taking the bodies out and then it thawing and taking over the world.
Okay.
The next one is The Prince of Darkness.
So I do love The Prince of Darkness, but go ahead. Go on. Anyway.
So again, this is another apocalyptic tale.
Agreed.
We have those dreams, which are really tachyons being sent from the future, which is, I don't remember what the future was. It was probably like 2000 or something.
Actually, no, I think it was, I want to say it was 2012.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's basically saying that the devils come back, right?
Right.
So that's the end of the world. I also love to think that all of these movies are happening in the same universe and maybe at the same time. Just because I find that interesting concept. So The Thing's out, Satan's out, and the last one, is In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, okay, so pause for 1 second. It was 1999. The
Right.
future was 1999.
Right.
And then In the Mouth of Madness, which is a decent movie, but not one of his best, in my opinion.
I think that was his last great movie. Now, it's not as great as some of his other ones, but taken into context for some of his later movies, I think it was his last, like, classic Carpenter movie.
So let me ask you this: Who decided that's a trilogy? Because those movies are not in any way related.
Well, they're related because they're all about the apocalypse.
So you are forcing a thematic relationship on them.
No, I didn't come up with this.
So
It,
who's forcing this relationship?
I don't
Because I
know.
don't believe that they had anything to do with each other.
Google Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy. It's not just me.
Well, of course it's just you.
Well, Google it. Okay, so audience, we will wait till Jim Googles this. And Jim, if you think that I have the power to create something in the internet like that, then I am ahead of the curve.
This is. Let me see what we got. So that is a set of films which started in 1982
Mm-hmm.
and continued through the 80s with Prince of Darkness and ended in the 90s. So we have 3 movies
Yes.
over a decade.
Right.
Seem to have little in common, save for the director. Upon closer inspection, it's clear that there is a thread that runs throughout each picture. Each movie forces its characters to combat not only a visible enemy but an unseen one, which may be immune to the nature of what they believe to be
Right.
reality. Okay, but in the 3 Carpenter films, okay, nowhere in here does it mention where this got started.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I still think that this is something you spearheaded.
If I had the power to do that, Jim, you'd be sacked.
You're much more influential than you think, Mark.
But we're also talking about Fulci. Fulci and his Gates of Hell trilogy, which again were not related, but thematically were the same. So that's unusual.
Okay.
Anyway, so and why do I think? Let's
Wait,
just pick the thing. Why do
so
I?
wait. You haven't answered the second part of this question. Which one of those movies is your favorite?
It's
No. Which
that's
one?
like
Which
if,
one?
I'll say the thing,
Okay.
but there's a lot of Carpenter movies which to me are basically all masterpieces.
Yeah.
So
But
uh,
I wasn't allowed to pick more than one, so neither are you.
I can pick whatever I want. I love it because, well, I don't need to talk about the thing because everyone's seen it and everybody knows why it's so great. I don't know anybody that doesn't like the thing.
I mean, I sort of feel like I should just hate it now based on principle, but I won't lie, I like it.
You like it. It's
I
odd.
do.
It's
It
odd.
is. It's I.
So going down that path, I'm sorry. So the other person, let me go there. Is my pal. Okay, here we go.
Oh, is it
Matthew
Jeff?
Matthew Brockmeyer,
Oh,
who is
okay, Matthew.
yeah, who's a author. Um, he wanted to discuss whether Vikings actually made the blood eagles by ripping the person's lungs out, or if it's just nonsense from a
I feel
slave.
like I should have studied for this.
So I told him I think that whenever we did our torture episode,
Hmm.
I think
Which
I'm
which
I think
by the
I'm
way, that is our lowest listened to episode. Anyway, go on.
I don't know, suckers. Uh, I may have brought that up in that discussion. I don't remember, but it wasn't one of my lists because I feel, from what I've heard, that that's more myth
Okay.
than it actually happened.
Okay.
And do you know what the Blood Eagle is?
I do. I'm sure we probably did talk about it during that torture episode, but I don't.
So basically, they put somebody basically kind of on their face, so their back's exposed, cut their back open, pull out their lungs,
Huh.
and also I believe pour salt on them.
Well, you have to pour salt on a wound.
Well, yeah, you have to you have to season it.
You have to.
But anyway, so from Sarah's question, led me down the road to favorite directors, and then got me onto Ridley Scott. And then thinking, well, that's one of your favorite movies, Jim.
Yes.
But we've never really discussed the Alien franchise, and I think there's a lot to talk about there.
Oh God.
So what we're going to do, we're going to go movie by movie, and it's up to you whether we include the Alien versus Predator ones. I guess it depends how long we're talking. I guess we should kind of
Do we have to?
discuss them, and I would like you to give me your ratings on each one.
Can we stop at Resurrection?
No.
Damn it. Okay, I guess.
Okay, so we'll kick it off with Alien. Jim,
Yes.
your thoughts on Alien?
It's one of my favorite all-time movies. You have I how do I start this? If they had just listened to the smart lady, none of it would have happened.
Right.
That aside, you have everything in this. You have the personal drama. You have the claustrophobic fear because they're in a small vessel. You have the unknown because nobody's ever encountered this life form before, and it all mixes so well, and there's such an intensity that just continues to build throughout the entire movie, even down to when the android, and I forget his name at the moment, Ash, yeah, until Ash attacks Ripley. It was just it's absolutely amazing because it never stops until the very end, and even then it doesn't really stop.
And we'll talk about some of the continuity whenever they made the more recent ones. How
Right.
they shit all over the original. Right?
They did, and I hate it.
So what was the original title, the working title of this called?
I don't know.
Written by Dan O'Bannon,
Yep.
right? Who I'm sure on the what we've watched, you would have watched Return of the Living Dead by now. uh, so it was initially called cringingly Star Beast, right?
Oh, that's right. I have heard that.
And it was initially going to be more of a cheesy, Dark Star ish.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, in the original script, Ripley was a man.
Ripley was not written as a man or a woman.
Okay, then maybe I'm mistaken in my in my trivia.
It was just Ripley. I don't think there was any gender specific talk around that. They were just called Ripley.
Okay.
I don't think it was he or her or him.
I had originally thought, and I thought I had read a story, back in the early 2000s about how Ridley Scott had said that originally they envisioned a man until Sigourney Weaver did her screen test.
Right. They envisioned a man because that's generally who would be in that role.
Right. That's true.
In movies at that time. And it was a stroke of genius. And we'll talk about Ridley Scott too. So obviously we've got iconic set designs, creature designs by H.R. Giger.
Oh my God, his visual aesthetic is amazing. Like I couldn't even imagine getting into his mind for 5 minutes. It has to be a nightmare, a beautiful nightmare world.
Yeah, I mean, provocative. There's another artist that's very like him too. I don't remember right now, but obviously the sexual aspect to it, and that plays a lot into the movie, right?
Right.
So the movie plays a lot on, childbirth, male childbirth, yep. Right?
Right.
I guess it was also partly based on that insect that. The wasp that lays its eggs into caterpillars, and then they burst out.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I guess Dan O'Bannon had some weird gastrointestinal issue, and that was kind of on his mind too.
I mean, and you have to admit that that first chest burster scene when, um, oh my god, my mind is not working today. I'm too fried
John
from work.
Hurt.
Who's that? What?
John Hurt.
Yes, when John Hurt's character gets up and he's eating
Yeah,
at the table,
that's
right?
spaghetti.
Yeah, when he gets up and he's eating, and then all of a sudden, you just see everything change in his face, and then you have Yaphet Kotto and everybody around the table grab him and start holding him down. That entire scene is fucking amazing. The confusion and the panic and the sheer surprise you see in their faces, and of course, what's her name, Veronica Cartwright. Her, oh my god, I will never not want to hear her say that because it's just great.
um, right, and we'll talk a little bit more about the gestation period. Right, it takes maybe a couple of days from facehugger on.
Well, it depends on what movie you're in
Right.
because it seems to get shorter.
Well, especially in the last couple,
Yeah.
where it's basically instantaneous.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we'll talk about. So, Ridley Scott to me is such a great director.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I say that, I mean it in the visual sense.
Right.
I I think he's always at his best when he has competent writers and already competent actors. He doesn't. From interviews that you'll see of him, he doesn't really give a shit about the story mostly. But it's really a vehicle for his visuals.
Right.
So as long as it's visually interesting to him, and he doesn't really care too much about his actors because
Okay.
he's all about the looks.
Okay.
And even in the last couple, like those are beautiful movies.
Yes.
Beautiful movies, but they're dumb as shit.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to
he works
disagree.
like his best movies, Alien, Blade Runner, Gladiator, movies like that, all happen because they've got good writers and good actors. And then he adds that layer on top.
Right.
Like, I don't think he directs actors.
Okay.
So they have to be already good.
Okay. I can see that point.
So visually, it's beautiful.
It is.
The pace is perfect.
Yep.
It's a slow build,
It is.
but and people say it's kind of like a slasher in space, right? And
I don't know.
but it kind of is. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, once the alien is out and it's an alien,
Well, yeah.
he
Okay.
picks them off one by one, and then
Very true. That's
you've got
true.
the quote unquote final girl, which is
Right.
one of the first final girls. Although I don't really like that type of thing, but there's just so much to visually take from it. The acting is fantastic.
It
The
is.
surprise of Ash is amazing.
That was a great twist when you first see the movie.
and they also will screw that up in later movies. But even if you think like I watch like YouTube reactions and stuff, and people are even freaked out about that opening few minutes, right? Where it's just like the helmet and it's like on the helmet.
Right.
So it's that slow camera through the amazing sets.
Right.
And it's just it creeps people out. I can see why. It just builds and the sound, the sound design, the soundtrack, just everything works together.
It does.
To make this an absolute classic. Do you have anything else to say about it?
I don't, because this is near perfection.
So, how many alien eggs out of 10 would you give it?
9.5.
9.5. That's like a 40 pan for most people. Okay, so moving So to me, I will give this a 9 out of 10. Um,
Okay.
so moving along, we have James Cameron, just fresh from Piranha 2, um, who I think, um, whenever you talk about sequels, what makes a good sequel, right? So it doesn't just copy the original,
Right.
but it expands on the original and it expands the mythology in a way that doesn't shit on the previous film.
And it does that 100%.
I'm sorry, we could talk about some of the out scenes. I meant to talk about Dallas being glued to the wall in a deleted scene, right? In Alien,
Oh, right.
where
Yep.
they were supposed to make the alien kind of self sufficient, where it would plant its own face hugger or eggs or whatever.
Right. It would set them up so that the eggs would hatch and,
Right.
their
But
food would be right there.
luckily enough, that was cut
Right.
because what James Cameron had was even better.
It was. The way that that this movie sets up the evolution of these creatures when there is a plentiful food source is amazing.
Um,
Because in this movie they have now begun terraforming LV-2426.
right.
So there is now a plentiful food source for this alien life form. And I guess I don't think this is the right what gestation host for
Mhm.
their young to gestate, I guess is
And sorry, I don't want to skip over some of these things because of the later conversation we will have. Also, in Alien, we find the space jockey, right?
mm.
Which, by the
They don't
time, by the
they give him
time
a different name. They're
that's what they call it. By the time we get around to Prometheus, well, things will have changed a little bit.
oh, don't even get me started with Prometheus.
So anyway, back to aliens. So once again, we have a fantastic opening. I
Mm-hmm.
love the opening to Aliens where she's found and it's just like that robot laser thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the initial dream sequence.
Yep. Where you think she has been infected or implanted or whatever.
And at that time, I mean, I think I watched Aliens before I watched Alien whenever I was a kid. But I mean, that must have thrown audiences off.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
We,
sure. I know. I when I first saw Aliens, when that thing came through her chest, I thought that was really the end, and that bothered me.
I mean, and we get one of the greatest shitheels in movie history
Played by a really great comedic actor.
with Paul Reiser as
Yes,
Carter Burke, who's so
and
nice at the start.
sorry, say that again.
He's so nice at the start.
He is. You
Makes
think
him
he's a
such a
good guy?
great shitheel.
Yeah, agreed. He was perfect for that part, and I never would have cast him for that, given his other acting jobs.
Um, so again, talking about sequels expanding on the original. The original we had what, six members of the cast,
That sounds right.
and now we have many more because we have the Colonial Marines.
Right. So, well, let's not skip over the drama that unfolds after Ripley's been found, where if you watch the director's cut, she finds out that her daughter has died of old age
Right,
while she was in hypersleep, so she essentially has nobody left.
right. There's
So
several.
that
There's a
I
lot of cuts in this movie which, in hindsight, you think. I mean, that scene was only a few minutes long.
right.
Could have kept it in there, and I think it would have been much better regarding her relationship with Newt.
Exactly, because it did in the cut for um in the original cut, it the relationship sort of just happened and there was no reason why. Like she had never had any kids. So why would she have been drawn to this?
Well, I mean, I can see, she's she's not one of the Marines, right? So
Well, yeah,
she's
she's
a regular
but that
woman, and not to be stereotypical, she probably has that motherly feeling, and empathy and sympathy with this little girl, where the other ones are more soldiers, right? So it kind of makes sense anyway, but I think it would have been enhanced.
Oh,
Um,
I 100% agree. When I finally got a chance to see the director's cut, it made a lot more sense, and it made her a lot more human. Like you
right.
understood more about why she felt the way she did towards this little girl and why she connected so well with her.
And at the very end, which would have been such an more emotional stinger when Newt calls her
Mommy.
mommy,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think that would have had a greater impact. Anyway, so a lot of people talk about aliens and say, well, that's like Alien, but it's action. It's just more guns and da da da.
Well, yeah, because it
Which I constantly say, I don't know if you've watched this movie or you forget about the first 40 minutes.
right. And but as you said, it has to be bigger, it has to be better. And this film does that on almost every level.
But I think people are not giving Cameron the credit that he deserves, because the first 40 minutes, which is the same length of time as Alien until the alien appears,
Right.
that's the same amount of time. There's that same, like, the amount of suspense and build up. I would say is actually even more in this one, because you already know what the alien is and how
Right.
badass it is, and you're just waiting for them to fucking jump, right? Uh,
Right. You're waiting for them to pounce through 90%
but
through the entire first act of this movie.
right, but he keeps it back. The only time we see an alien in the first 40 minutes is that dream sequence at the start.
Right.
So you got the same amount of time in Alien, but no, but everybody just said, "Oh well, this is just like a sci-fi action movie." Like, literally a third of the movie is not action.
Right. That's not untrue, but I mean I can see both points because there is a lot more gunplay and a lot more violence in this movie.
Oh, there is, but to just write it off as this is an action movie, I disagree.
Well,
Like,
I
I will say something like Predator is an action movie all the way through.
I agree. I don't disagree with you at all. But I can see both sides of that point. But it's still a phenomenal, nearly perfect sequel.
Um, you talk about like one line. You talk about setting things up. Like, this is the genius of, like, Cameron, who I think as a person is a bit of an egotist, but whatever. And maybe you need to be like that to
Maybe.
make good movies sometimes. But just, the loader that she's using at the start, it's kind of
Hmm.
like a throwaway thing, because it's more like, hey, I can do stuff too. I'm not just this useless woman. I can, like, load things,
Right.
and it's played off as kind of a joke where, haha. But it comes back at the end, right?
Right.
But, like, you don't really think about that, because you're, as an audience member, you're thinking about aliens in the size of regular aliens, where that forklift thing that she has wouldn't really matter because they could have swarmed that.
Right.
Right. But it's not until the end, and we'll talk about the Queen too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You get introduced to the Queen in this movie, and she is one tough motherfucker.
Right. And you talk about thematics about,
And
mother,
and
being a mother, and losing your kids.
right.
And they're both fighting for their own kids as much as
Yep.
anything, right?
Right.
I mean, the aliens aren't evil.
No, they're
They're,
animals.
they're animals just like us.
Right.
So it's not like they're evil. They're just
Right.
trying to survive. And it is what it is. It's survival of the fittest, right?
Until we get to Alien Resurrection, but we'll
Well,
get
we'll get there.
to that.
um, but you have that part in, after the 40 minutes, and you have the Marines getting their ass kicked. We have to
Right.
talk about, obviously, Michael Biehn
Right.
as Hicks, and Hudson.
Right. Well, Michael
Pre-
Biehn, who was also in what other sci-fi great,
Pre-
directed by the same guy, right?
Predator 2. Oh, Terminator?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, oh, what's his name? He fucking died. Oh my god. Who played
What was his? Oh, Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton? Yeah, so he's the only guy that was killed by a predator and an alien.
Yes, and there was a third one in there too.
Although you could say Lance Henriksen, that happened too as well.
That's true.
Although
That's true.
he was killed by an alien, he wasn't killed by a predator. But he was an alien versus predator. Anyway,
But he was killed by a pumpkinhead.
he was.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I
So,
digress.
so you have that whole scene, and game over, man, game over, and why you put her in charge? And there's so many great lines in there too.
Oh my god, what is her name? So what? Yeah, what was her name though?
So it was Jeanette Goldstein.
Right, but what was the character's name?
Vasquez.
Vasquez. Thank you. It was not connecting with me.
And, talk about blackface, but she's not Hispanic.
No, I know she's Jewish.
She has white freckles.
Yeah, but
she's great in it.
The character is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's badass. She's tough. She's out to kick ass and take names, but she also has a heart, which you see later in her death scene with Gorman. Because they also have Gorman, who is a yutz. It's not that he's a bad guy. He's just inexperienced, and some asshole put him in charge.
And he's, I'm not going to say he's typecast, but he plays basically the same character in Hellraiser 2.
It's because he's good at being a lily-livered coward.
He's like Judge Reinhold.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But again, I mean, you get that fantastic scene where it's you get some just before the attack, right? So you get where
right.
Burke has let the facehuggers into impregnate Newt and Ripley.
And Ripley, right.
And it's great to see the facehuggers moving around, right? They shot that so well.
They did. They really did. After it drops and then it starts to move, it's great.
But it's even like she's stuck in there, but she's got the brains to set off like the fire alarm.
Because Burke has also turned off the camera.
Right. And I don't know how many people in that situation, would be like that switched on, right?
Right.
Wow. And then you've got the part where they have the motion trackers, and they're like, oh, holy shit! They're like
right on top of us, man. It's in the room.
Right. And whenever I first watched that, I was honestly, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Because I was 10 or 12 or whatever age I was. I was sitting there going like, what? And then they're like looking at the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. And that reveal when he sticks his head through that tile.
Right.
And it's just like, because that's the first time you see them en masse coming at something.
Right. And they only had like 3 or 4 suits.
Right.
But they, the way they edited it together, I think that was probably the only scene that had them in one shot.
Right.
Amazing shot. I mean, talk about direction again, talk about sets, and talk about the music and everything again, just perfect.
Well, even when they set up the scene where you see the automatic gunners taking out a few of the aliens, like that was even done really well without compromising the quote unquote alien suit. Right? I mean, because they didn't have that many of them.
And we should also probably talk about Bishop, the great Lance Henriksen again.
Yeah.
They
bastardize in later films, but anyway.
Doing the wonderful knife trick with Hudson.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not funny, man. That's not funny.
Right, because there was something about that scene. Did he get cut or was it unscripted? Lance Henriksen was not supposed to do that on Bill Paxton's hand. In the original shot, he was supposed to do it with himself.
Yeah, I believe I heard that. Yeah. But again, with Cameron, great vision.
Mm-hmm.
You, as an audience member, are like, Ash was a fucking nasty android, right?
Right.
Working for the company. Everyone's expendable. So you expect the same from Bishop.
Right. But we don't get that.
But we don't. We get the opposite.
Right.
He's a hero.
He is.
I'm okay. I need to talk about this. I'm not that claustrophobic, but
We can
that's
talk about when he crawls through the pipe.
that scene makes me like, oh,
He
that like he just fits in there, and he's
does.
just, I don't know. So then we get basically Ripley taking control of the situation. Right, she gets them out of there.
Right.
They're all trying to figure out what to do. The aliens come in, and then Newt gets lost down that like air vent or whatever it is.
Can we talk about that scene where she falls into the water and that alien comes up behind her? That is a beautiful scene. The lighting, the depth of color, it's fucking beautiful.
And I'm talking about aliens in water. We will get to Alien Resurrection, which I think is the best part of that movie. So, yes, it is wonderful. And then we get, again, the mother versus mother showdown.
Right. Get away from her, you bitch.
Right. And we get that false ending where...
Before we go on to there, can we please talk about the scene where the queen rips herself off of that apparatus she was laying eggs in?
Right.
That was painful. That was painful.
Well, no, I think that would happen once she's done with the eggs anyway.
I'm not going to lie. It hurt me to watch that. I felt pain.
Well, I think maybe that's the psychiatrist armchair discussion part.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I never got that because I felt that the queen was all the black part of her, and the egg sac was something which happened, when she was laying eggs. But when she stopped laying eggs, she would just get rid of it anyway.
Okay.
So now we're in the finale, right? So Ripley
Bishop has taken them off of the platform.
Bishop has left, and we're like, oh fuck.
Oh right, because you figure he sacrificed them so that he could. Yeah.
Well, we're still thinking, as much as he's, and there's certain scenes that they play up. Whenever he's dissecting the face hugger and looking at it, he's very like Ash in that scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're setting you up because you expect that heel turn.
Yeah, you don't really know, which way he's going to be.
Right.
And obviously Hicks is on there, but he's unconscious, right?
Right.
And then he comes back.
Right.
He's like, I couldn't sit here because it was getting too unstable.
Right.
So we think, wow, it blows up.
Right.
We're all safe.
Right.
Then Queen takes Bishop.
Yes. By the way, that scene was, I can't say this enough about that. When she rips him in half, it was amazing. Like the special effects were fantastic.
I remember watching, this is a vivid memory whenever I first watched it. Whenever I first watched it, I thought it was a chest burster.
Okay.
That was coming out.
Right.
And then it's obviously the tail.
Right.
But I love the way they did that because it's right through their chest, right? Kind of like a chest burster. And then we have the loader versus
the queen.
The alien queen scene. Now, one thing I will say, I don't know how strong Ripley is.
She's not that strong.
He is holding on. Like whenever the loader goes down, the queen goes down. She's holding on by one arm, one elbow, and the door opens. You got the vacuum of space, and the queen holding onto her ankle, and she's holding on by one arm. Like, yeah, you go, girl.
Right.
That's some upper body strength right there.
Let's also talk about this is where we get to see Ash in the culmination of all of his herodom, because what does he do? He saves Newt from being sucked out of that hole. That's what I said, Bishop.
You said Ash.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Bishop. I apologize.
No, Not bad for a human.
Right.
And then you've got the wonderful outro shot of them going into the
Can I
crowd,
dream now? Right, where she asks if she can dream now.
and that's after the mommy, which
Yep.
is and so I think
Can I also say that at this point, when Ripley is running towards the loader, this is the only thing I can possibly pick apart in this movie. You can tell by the way that Sigourney Weaver runs to get that loader that she's hurting. Like you can tell this has been physically exhausting for her.
right.
And it adds to the movie, but you can tell by the way she's carrying herself that she is exhausted.
So how many alien eggs out of 10 would you give Aliens?
7.5.
I give it a 10 out of 10.
I know you would. We've had this discussion before.
So then we go into development hell for a while.
Right.
And then we get the studio trying to figure out what to do. And it goes
Right.
through many iterations.
So many.
And then we have an up and coming director, David Fincher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who will go on to do great things, Seven, Zodiac, things like that.
Two great films.
In his first directing gig.
Right.
And why don't you tell me about Alien 3?
Okay, so we start the film much like The Thing, right? Where they have crashed onto a prison planet. Their bodies have been recovered, and a dog is implanted with a chest burster. Now, mind you,
So hang on. So let's just say we're left at the end of Aliens.
right, with all four of
Ripley,
them in hypersleep.
Newt, Hicks, and Bishop.
Right.
So we start off Alien 3
with a crash landing.
killing Newt and Hicks.
Correct.
In a way, I kind of like that nihilistic approach.
Right. Well, I mean, part of the good point about that is, once again, Ripley has lost everything she cares about.
But I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Okay.
I would rather keep the movie the way it is. Keep it, crashing on this planet, this prison planet, but have Hicks and Newt there. I think that would have made a much more interesting dynamic.
Why?
Because it's like what they're trying to go for is, oh, Ripley's the alien now.
Right.
Fuck off. I don't. That's what she was in the last movie. She
Right.
was the outsider. You've built up these characters. You've built up a lot of it. I think it would have been far more interesting, those three characters on this planet, than just Ripley by herself.
I mean, I don't know. The only thing sellable in this entire franchise up to this point is Ripley. Yes, we cared about.
I 1000% disagree. The only thing sellable about Alien and Aliens is Ripley.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
She's the main character that everybody cares about when they go see these films.
Bullshit. If Ripley died at the end of Aliens or Alien, and they say Ripley died at the end of Alien, and Aliens was still the same thing, but maybe without Ripley, it still would have been a great movie. Not as great as it was.
No, it wouldn't. No.
Not as great as it was, but Ripley.
You are full of shit, sir.
No.
The only thing that sells this entire franchise
This is the Alien franchise, not the Ripley franchise, which is a which
Au contraire,
hang on,
sir.
which is the whole reason why Alien Resurrection sucks ass.
Again, you are fucking wrong. Number one. The
That-
only thing that sucks about Alien Resurrection is that they tried to replace Ripley with Winona Ryder.
so no, they didn't.
That was the plan after Alien Resurrection, was to continue the series with Winona Ryder taking over in the quote unquote heroine
I don't really get it.
role.
But it's like saying, well, Nightmare on Elm Street's without Heather Langenkamp, without Nancy, it's just shit. Do you agree?
Well, the best ones have her in it, so
So yeah, so every other Nightmare on Elm Street movie is shit, right?
well, mostly just Freddy's Dead, but that's beside the point. And the remake.
Or any Friday the 13th movie without Tommy Jarvis is shit, right?
Why would that matter? He was only in 2 movies.
Because he was the driving force behind. He was
Behind 2 movies. You have one constant. You have one constant in the 4 good Alien movies, and that is Ellen Ripley. She is the thread that pulls these movies along.
Hang on. So, say you gave money to a competent director and writer for a new Alien movie without Ripley in it. Are you saying that's automatically going to be shit because Ripley's not in it?
They tried that with both Prometheus and Covenant.
I'm asking you.
And I'm telling you right now, they tried that with Prometheus and Covenant, and they suck.
I'm not talking about Prometheus. I said good director and writer.
Again, they tried with Prometheus and Covenant, and it sucks.
There's a lot of other media around aliens, or Alien, that is not Ripley specific. Lots
Right,
of
and
books.
right, there are lots of comic books that introduce the Predator and all that crap, and I think they're garbage. They tried adapting them into movies, and they're garbage.
Do you think that they should stop making alien movies?
They should have stopped before they did Prometheus, yes.
So you're saying there's no way anybody could. So nobody on this earth can ever in the future make a good alien movie.
I believe it might be possible, but they would have to address the Ripley
No, they don't.
character.
Why?
So you listen to what I'm saying, because I said so. In order for me to enjoy and respect another Alien film that ignores Ripley, it's not going to happen.
Why? Ripley's just one character.
She's the character that people care about when it comes to this franchise.
I care about other characters in this franchise.
What other characters that you've seen in more than one movie?
I care about Hicks. I could care about Newt. I could care about Dallas. I could care about a whole
And they're
bunch.
all dead.
Right, but Ripley's dead too.
And what do? They bring her back in the fourth movie.
No. I'm saying, do you think that there could be no other good alien movie that doesn't have Ripley in it?
It would have to address the reason she's not in it.
Why?
In order for me to buy into it.
Why?
Because I just told you that. It's because she is the thread that pulls these movies together.
No, she isn't.
Yes, she is.
No, she isn't.
It's the fact that she survives. She fights against them, and she's the only one that continues to survive.
I don't think Alien 3 is very good, and I really don't think Alien Resurrection is very good at all. And she's in both of them.
Well, then you're garbage, sir. Your opinions are garbage.
So hang on. So give me your rating of Alien 3.
I would do that 5. I would do that a solid 5. It was not a great film. It suffered a lot from thematically and
wait. So Ripley's in it, but it's a 5 out of 10.
Yes.
But you don't think anybody could make a better Alien movie that's more than 5 out of 10 without Ripley in it, or talking about Ripley?
Correct.
So what is your rating for Alien Resurrection?
7.
Okay, we'll get there. We
will get there.
Well, okay, so let's get back. So again, you talk about the cuts that were made for Aliens, but the studio really went wholesale in changing Alien 3, right?
They did.
You have the assembly cut where it's not a dog that gets infected; it's an ox and things like that.
Right.
And I believe one of the original script was it was going to be a wooden planet or a wooden.
That sounds right. I remember reading about that.
To be monks.
Yeah, right.
They
They were
kind
going to
of
be monks,
to the religious aspect,
and they left the religious aspect in it.
but to a certain degree with
Hmm. The
what's his
preacher.
uh, what's his name?
Oh my God. Um.
Uh, he was in Mimic as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. 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 Oh my God.
Uh,
Oh,
and I really like him as an actor.
I know.
Uh, I
Oh,
really
Charles Durning?
no,
No,
Charles Darning's a white guy,
that's right. That's not him.
but
What's
I
his
think
name?
it is Charles somebody.
No, hold
Norman
on.
Reedus was in what? No, Charles S. Dutton.
Dutton. Thank you.
So anyway, so you go from and I think the studios wanted to go back to just having one alien, or uh, very few aliens compared to aliens.
Right. They
Uh,
tried to bring the claustrophobic feel back.
right. Um, I just think that this movie is it's it's not it's not really that enjoyable to watch. It's drab. I think the performances are fine. It feels a little off, and that's maybe due to the studio interference and
Yeah.
everything else. The CGI, again, it was a little too early for it.
Yeah. Agreed.
um,
The one thing that bothers me is the Jesus pose at the end. When Ripley throws herself into the forge and she looks like Jesus Christ, and then the chest burster comes out.
right,
That was ridiculous. That was stupid.
and that was a studio interference again
Right.
because initially it was just going to be her jumping off
Hmm.
without having an alien bursting out of her.
Right.
Um, it's just kind of drab to look at. It's just not very interesting to me,
Yeah.
and especially when you put it up against the first two,
Right.
it's a major step down.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Um, it's great seeing Lance Henriksen back,
Hmm.
but that again,
Is this the one where he starts? No, no, he plays the android again. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
yeah, that again, you're gonna have some continuity stuff going on,
Right.
and that and the Wayland Yutani Company and Prometheus and Covenant and ADP and all of that. But I find Alien 3 okay. I would give it a 5 out of 10. No,
Like,
that's probably a little harsh. I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
I was gonna say we agree on something. What?
It's just not something that I go back and watch.
I do. I'm not gonna lie because I like to watch the entire series, the first four.
Okay, so let's get on to one of your favorites in the series.
Resurrection.
Tell me what you like about Resurrection.
Honestly, it's the visuals. I think it is a beautifully filmed and visually stunning piece of art.
Okay. So you like the way it looks. What else?
That's 90% of it right there. That's
So,
90% of my love for this movie.
so you don't like Sigourney Weaver's acting in it,
Of
or
course I do. I
you
think for being a 60-year-old woman, I think for being a 60-year-old woman at the time this movie came out, and playing more of a badass because she in this movie plays a hybrid.
she wasn't 60.
Yeah, I believe she was.
She wasn't 60 in What? No way.
Let's find out.
Yeah, you look that up. I think that's some bullshit right there.
I'm sorry, you're right. She was 47. She was, yeah, she was close. No. You're right. I was wrong. But I have to say, even at 47, you don't see a whole lot of women launching an action movie career at that point. And I think she did an admirable job playing that character.
I don't know. Linda Hamilton was older than that when she came back for that Terminator one.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So there are things to like about this movie.
There are.
I agree. Some of the visuals, and especially what I alluded to earlier, the underwater alien scene,
Yes, where they're swimming.
which although doesn't make a lot of sense with the characters and
Yeah, I never did understand why it was flooded down there.
or how they could hold their breath for like 10 minutes, but um, just them swimming underwater, that was a good use of CGI. Brad
Yeah,
Dourif is again wonderful in it.
of course.
Um,
He is so creepy. But here's the part that I did not like until I read one of the books, one of the serializations. Um, the
that
aliens are out for revenge in this movie. They've been held captive, they've been raised in captivity, and they are out to kill their captors. They're out for straight up revenge in this movie. But they had never before introduced any concept of them having like a hive mind, except in some of the novelizations. So that didn't really make sense to me that these animals would be out for revenge.
yeah, that well, sorry, that doesn't make any sense. That's anthropomorphizing creatures, which I don't agree with.
Right.
I don't think there's a hive mind. I think there's bad writing in there because at one point an alien spits acid.
Yep.
So why did they have to kill one alien to get out?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
And I will say,
I love
sorry.
Durf's performance, but
Yep.
I always love Durf's performance.
He plays such a good creep. He really does. And he's not a bad guy in this film. He's just a creep. He's creepy. And he's fantastic at it. I told you my Brad Dorff story, right?
About
When I met him at Spooky Empire.
mm,
So I walked up there, right? And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was chatting with Alex Vincent
what
because their tables were next to each other. And I had no problem talking to him. And I get up to Brad Dorff and I can't speak. I can't say a single word.
I did.
He tried to. Do you want me to sign a picture? And I just pointed. And at one point he says, she actually made that shot. They did a bunch of takes, and on the last one, she sunk it.
That's well known.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he tried so hard. He's such a nice guy, but I could not get my lips to move.
Yeah, he's super nice and he's great. Have you seen Death Machine?
I don't think I have.
You should watch Death Machine. It's Dourif at his manic best.
Before you start bitching and kvetching about this movie, let
Yeah.
me tell you another thing that I absolutely adore about this movie. Ron Perlman.
Um,
He plays a great oaf.
so so it's going to play into my issue with this movie. Now, I think Perlman's a great actor and I really like him, but that's not my issue.
Okay.
So you go from Alien, right? So Alien is a movie set and played out as if it's real life, right?
Right.
Alien 2 is the same, or Aliens, right? And
Right.
Alien 3 is the same, but even
Kind
greater.
of. Yeah.
This one is a fucking cartoon.
So what is it? Is it the fact that they make the humans the villains that you don't like? What is it?
No, it's a fucking cartoon, dude. Just watch it. It's a cartoon. It's a comic book. It's not like it's a movie. And
It's fucking beautiful. I love it.
I'm not talking. No, I'm talking about the characters and what goes on in it. I'm sorry, but whenever you get a guy who's got a gun like behind his head or whatever, and he ricochets it off two things and it kills somebody, I'm like, that's comic book bullshit. That would never happen in Aliens 1 to 3.
No, but I think that was the point.
Right, and that's fine. And if people like this silly comic bookish, over the top, weird characters not based in reality version of Aliens, that's great for them. To me, it's just so out of place, and it just basically dismantles the previous three films,
I disagree.
and that's fine.
I think I think it's because I went in understanding that it was going to be a departure from the films. I didn't expect it to be um the same the same kind of movie.
Name another franchise where you have the first few movies and they're based in like real life that you've liked, and then
Nightmare on Elm Street.
no,
Yes, 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 yes,
no. That was
yes,
all.
yes, yes.
No, no.
No, 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 no.
No,
As of the third movie, they started taking it into a cartoony realm.
bullshit. That was always on the wacky side of things.
No, no.
Yeah.
The first one was grounded in reality,
So let's take for example Silence of the Lambs, right? So you
right?
got Silence of the Lambs, and then you got what Hannibal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get one where you got weird comic book things going on, comic book characters. You'd be like, one of these isn't like the same. And you might have, I don't know, Hannibal Lecter freaking doing jump rope or something and winking at the audience. And you're like, well, that doesn't really fit with the rest of the movies that I like.
See, I don't know. Maybe I expected the departure from the film.
I'm not saying that you're wrong in liking that. That is my major issue with this movie.
Yeah, and that's fair because it does. It is a huge departure from the original two, and even the third one for that matter.
In fact, if you look at all the aliens movies, it's the only one like that.
Yeah.
There's no other one that's like a comic book.
But my love for the Alien films stops here. This is the last Alien movie that I enjoyed.
Well, let's move on. So we're not belaboring the point. You say it's a 7 out of 10. For me, it's a 4 out of 10.
Well, you're entitled to be wrong.
So now we can move on to. I guess we'll talk about Alien versus Predator.
I've never seen a single one.
What?
I've never watched one. I started. I got about 30 minutes into the first one and just shut it off and never watched another.
Okay, I guess we won't talk about Predator.
I'm sorry. They were straight garbage. There was nothing redeeming about them.
No. Shut your whore mouth. You can't say that.
Look, it's fucking garbage. It's fucking garbage. They're not in the same universe. They never were.
You cannot say they're straight garbage if you haven't watched them.
Yes, I can.
Well,
those two creatures never existed in the same universe.
Never. Yeah, they did.
No.
Yeah, they did.
No.
Yeah, they did.
Nope.
Have you never watched Predator 2?
Yes.
Okay, there's an alien skull in there.
It was stupid.
Okay, well, you can say it's stupid, but you can't say that they never were in the same universe.
Yes, I absolutely can. I refuse to subscribe to that theory.
Right, but that's just
that's like saying that R2D2 and C3PO are on the fucking pyramids in the Mummy. But who gives a shit?
No, that's Raiders of the Lost Ark, dude.
Whatever.
But anyway, you can have your little hissy fit, right? But multiple media, Aliens versus, in fact, long before the movies came out, there was Alien versus Predator stuff in comic books, etc., and novels. So you can say they've never been, but these are fictional characters, and if writers put them in the same universe,
it's garbage.
They can. So automatically, if you mix two separate characters from different franchises, it's garbage.
Well, it didn't work for Freddy vs. Jason. It doesn't work for AVP.
That movie's great.
It's garbage.
Well, that's your opinion.
Yes, it is. I will die up on this hill.
But just saying, so there is no writer. You're telling the audience there's no writer capable enough.
I'm not
to combine two different characters from separate universes together and do it well. So,
I have yet to see one. That's all I'm saying.
That's not my question.
My response is I've yet to see one. I've not
That,
said
that's
anybody is not
that,
capable.
but that's not my question. My question is, do you think there's nobody talented enough to take two separate characters from separate universes and put them into one, whether that's comic books, movies, books, games, whatever? It can no two can ever cross pollinate.
Not saying that. I'm saying that I've yet to find
Okay,
one that I enjoy.
so then you're saying that you think the Alien versus Predator movies are garbage
Yes.
because of that fact.
Yes.
But you're saying it's possible for them not to be garbage.
I'm sure it's possible,
But
but
you've
not for me.
you've not watched them, so you don't know.
I didn't enjoy them, so no.
No, you haven't watched them,
I started one.
right? But you haven't watched them. Is my point,
No, I turned it off. I was bored.
right? But that's
Independently, I love both franchises.
but
Not together.
that's different from what you're saying. You're
What?
saying you started one and you got bored, so you stopped watching it.
Yes,
But your comment before is like they're trash,
they are.
but you haven't watched them.
I tried. I gave it a shot.
No. You started one, right?
Yes, I gave it a shot.
So you didn't. Okay, so because you didn't like part of one, they're automatically trash. So
100%.
if they made 20 Alien versus Predator movies, right?
Mhm.
And universally, they were half of them were really liked by a lot of people because it was great writing, great acting, great directing, great story. You'd be like, no, I'm not watching that. It's trash.
Pretty much. I mean, I don't watch many superhero movies either because I'm just not into superheroes.
Yeah,
They don't do it for me.
but you just said you liked Aliens, right?
Yeah?
And you like Predator, right?
Yeah, separately.
So you're into those franchises, right?
Separately.
So they could never ever.
No.
Okay, it's automatically trash in Jim's eyes.
Yes.
Okay, it's a good thing you're not a teacher. Okay,
Yes,
so
because I would be so racist against different alien species.
well, you heard it here
You
first.
stay on your side. You stay on your side.
You heard it here first, folks. Uh, so okay, so we'll skip the Alien versus Predator movies, which, by the way, they're not that good
Oh, really? You
for
don't say.
for the most part. The first one I think is PG-13 and it suffers from it, and it's kind of generic. Alien versus Predator Requiem. At least there's some balls about it. I mean, there's some real some real shit goes down in that movie, but it's very much like a slasher, like a low budget slasher type feel to it. Um, but yeah, so we'll move on. So Ridley Scott came back,
He did, and I'm so pissed he did.
and he's like, I don't care about the script and I don't care about the actors, but I'm going to make a beautiful looking movie. So Prometheus.
Ugh.
Jim, tell me about Prometheus. What is that movie about?
It's about garbage. That's what it's about,
So it's about aliens versus Predator?
roughly. It's so this is supposed to be the trilogy that ends at the beginning of the original. Okay? So this is setting up so that you understand the characters in the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. You understand the and honestly, they find the space jockeys and one character becomes obsessed with figuring out where they went. That's what this movie's about.
No. That the movie's a lot dumber than that. But let's just say before we go into it that initially they had planned to do a much straighter Alien prequel than this mixed up garbage which they gave us. Right? It was supposed to be really leading up to the events in Alien and having a much more alien centric
Right.
vibe. But I guess Scott and was it David Lindelof or whatever,
Something like that.
they decided to let's do something that's really not an Alien prequel, but we can get the funding for it and kind of say it's like an Alien prequel.
Yeah.
Because starting from this movie, nothing makes sense.
No,
Nothing.
nothing.
So from the start of this movie, we have quote unquote archaeologists, right?
Mhm.
Who are it's so stupid you want to ram your head against the wall. Find cave paintings, and they're like, oh, it's like all these cave paintings from all over the world, um, and it's drawings of these beings who are pointing at three like stars. The the only place in in the known universe that these three stars are in this configuration are this planet, right? And
Mhm.
I'm sorry, let's not forget the opening scene of one of these aliens drinking the black goo
Oh, right, right.
and starting the human race,
Race.
which isn't possible
Mhm.
because we evolved along with all the other animals. We
The
weren't,
engineers, that's what they call them, the engineers.
yes. So then it begins this, and I can see like Lindelof or whoever fucking wrote this, sitting there with their beard, right, and they're scratching their chin. They're like, let's make this about religion and where humans came from. Hmm,
It's
that will be
garbage.
interesting. No, it's not. No, it's not. And these fuckers that go into space are seriously the dumbest motherfuckers.
They are.
Like don't call them scientists. Don't call them whatever. Um, we can talk about Mike Fassbender.
So generally I like Michael Fassbender. He's a
He,
great
he,
performer.
he is great in this. He is genuinely great in it.
There's nothing redeeming about this film. Nothing.
No, I disagree. The visuals are great.
No.
Fassbender's great.
I will say
And,
the only thing I did kind of enjoy was Charlize Theron character's death.
oh,
That
the
was fun.
not running sideways. Yes.
Right, right.
But also Naomi Rapace, she's very good in it in a thankless role. Um, but this is like if you try and put together the mythology of let's just take Alien One and Aliens and apply it to Prometheus, it makes no sense.
No,
Like
there's zero connection.
so number one, right? Ash. They're all shocked. Oh my god, Ash is an android.
Right.
Well, androids have been in this universe for many years before Alien.
Right.
So why would they be like so shocked?
Right.
The beginnings of the Alien doesn't make any sense. Whenever they go through or go into the ship, they have like drawings on the wall of an actual alien.
Right.
But that's before the aliens began, because the aliens began from what happened in Prometheus and Covenant. Because David is the one that created
So
the aliens.
my big problem with both of these films lies in the storyline. They took what was a perfect organism. It was vicious, it was protective, and it was out to survive, and it had all the right defenses for it, and turned it into some robot's science project because he had daddy issues.
So again, it's this sitting there with stroking the beard. Hmm. Let's talk about how things are created, right? And it's like, how were humans created? Oh, there must have been a creator, right? It's this weird religious stuff. And then we have David. I'm a creation, but I want to create life, and I want to do this. It's like save that for a different movie. If you want to have
Yeah,
that discussion, go ahead. It might be interesting, but don't put it in this Alien prequel.
it's garbage. It turns the entire universe that is Aliens into garbage. Is what it does. That's why I hate these movies.
They, it wouldn't be so bad, but they have the dumbest fucking characters. They have
Yep.
the dumbest characters. They have characters who are supposedly scientists, and they're like, I would never go near. I want to get away from all this sort of stuff. Oh, look, there's a cobra-like alien thing. It looks friendly. I'm going to stick my
Hmm.
face in it.
Right.
It's got these engineers who are just they've got no clue what they're doing.
Right.
Apparently, they want to kill the Earth, but they seeded the Earth because there's different races who want to. Some want to kill everything, and some want to make life with.
Yeah. I can't even keep up on who wants to do what now in this mythology. It's ridiculous.
And then you've got the neomorphs and the different. Then you've got like you don't have a chest burster. You have like a mini like a full grown alien, but a mini size one coming out.
Right.
You have a guy who says, "Oh well, they don't want me to lead this thing because I have faith, and they don't like people with faith." And then,
Didn't it come out of the back though? Didn't it come out of your back this time in
yeah,
Covenant?
yeah, in one, yes, in one of the scenes, which is again one of the dumbest scenes.
Hmm.
Like you could sit there and like I don't want to sit here and belabor every stupid thing in those two movies because it's not it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Um, but they are so stupidly written, so badly made, as far as script. And I don't blame the actors, but it how to fuck up a series like even more after
Right.
Resurrection, which was
A great movie.
the low point at that.
Disagree.
And make it even worse. You know how you create characters which are so stupid. You create themes that are unnecessary. You make the mythology reverse.
Yeah.
Like it's you have carvings in a wall of actual aliens, as in the aliens, but
Right, but how
before
do you?
the aliens were created. So like it's
It
like
doesn't make
fan
it.
service, and
Yep.
it's, it,
It's
it,
garbage.
so what is your rating for Prometheus
2,
and Covenant?
1.
I would give them both threes.
Well, you're more generous than I am.
Just because I like the visuals, and some of the acting's not bad. I like Michael Fassbender
Hmm.
in both. You talk about Covenant, and it's like, oh, you make you make two Michaels that look the same. I wonder what's going to happen at the end. Oh, it's the bad,
The bad Michael won.
it's the bad David, and fuck
Yeah.
off this like David. I'm surprised they didn't call him Adam with this
Yeah.
just nonsense.
I
Um,
agree.
so yeah, so the beautiful to look at, beautiful to look at, but
The other thing that bothered me was when they did introduce the neomorphs in Covenant. Instead of having that claustrophobic feel like the rest of the series did, they've now brought them into a large pack, so it's not like you're running from velociraptors.
and the thing is, right? So Covenant is supposed to be the prequel to Alien.
Right.
So how does that make any fucking sense?
Well, I thought there was supposed to be one more movie that they didn't get to make because Covenant was so bad.
Uh,
Because I thought it was supposed to be a trilogy.
but okay, say they made one more movie. That does not equal Alien
No.
in any shape or form.
No.
So yeah. So that was our
There's our diatribe on the Alien saga.
Do you have anything else to say? I mean, there's a lot of comic books and everything else, and audiobooks and stuff. I mean, I think there is a better, wider universe that's not movie related. Um,
Yeah, and it may translate better in other media, especially like the crossover stuff. I have just zero interest in watching it in a movie.
well, I think just it's all again, it's all about the writing. I mean,
Yeah,
if the writing is shit at the start, no amount of pretty visuals can cover up that shit.
right.
It's like putting a flower in a dog turd.
Yep.
That's a good analogy.
Yep, it is.
Well done, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Mark.
Okay. So we could probably move on to what we've watched.
I honestly I have an audiobook that I've listened to called the
Uh,
Croft series.
I want to talk to you about something which I know you've watched.
Well, let me get through most of what I've watched. Um, I did. You want to talk about The Last of Us?
Mhm.
So let's go, sir.
Okay, so you've watched all the episodes so far, right?
I have.
You've not played the game, or did you?
I played part of it. I've not been through the entire game yet.
Not through the first one, right?
Right.
Okay, so
So let me ask you this first,
yeah,
because this may inform my opinion some more. Because you've played the whole game, right?
I played both the games.
So the characters that were prevalent in this latest episode, are they in the game?
So like the woman.
No, like the gay couple.
Oh yes, but
Okay,
but but
that makes the difference because honestly, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
but they are not. You only see. I think so. It's been a long time since I played the first one. You only see one of them, and it's a lot darker because the other one has hung himself and left a suicide note for the other guy and
Hmm.
said, "I'd rather be fucking dead than with you."
Okay, so yeah, you obviously want my opinion on this episode, right?
But hang on. So, also talking like just in general about how they've treated like LGBTQ right people. So in the second game, Ellie has a wife girlfriend,
Right,
but it's not like it's just portrayed like they're normal people, right?
right.
It doesn't overblow or make fun or everything. So I,
It's a
I,
side story that's just there.
yeah, it's just like as if she had a boyfriend,
Right,
right? So and I think both games have that balance of it's not making it like a big point. I think
right.
that's the thing, right? It's not like, oh, hey, look, hey, she's gay and they're gay. Oh, so let's make this a big thing. It's just like normal life. Hey, this is my girlfriend, and this
But
is what we're doing, and it's very normal, quote unquote, right?
so it's exactly the opposite of what this third episode did, right? Because that's the only point of this episode. Well, I don't understand. Like, what was it beautiful? Was it a nice story? Yes, it was all of those
Well,
things.
hang on. I don't. I'm not just asking you about the third episode. I'm just interested in your thoughts overall, including the third episode.
Okay, so
Because,
in general, I really like the show. I'm enjoying it. I think the performances are great. I think visually, from what I've played for the game, they've done a great job
mm-hmm.
in recreating some of the iconic shots that I remember from playing the game.
What?
What I don't understand is the prominence of this couple in the third episode. I don't understand why it was so important to show the entire arc of this story rather than only what impacts the two main characters that we are currently invested in.
And I honestly agree and a little bit disagree, but
Okay.
I mostly agree. Right. So I think it was an unexpected
Mhm.
episode Like I
right?
didn't expect it to be like that, right?
No,
I thought it was with the actors. I guess it's Ron Swanson or something, and some other
Nick
guy.
Offerman. Yep.
I don't know. I've never watched that show. And I thought it was played extremely well.
Oh, I agree. I think the performances were phenomenal.
And I thought it was extremely touching.
Yep.
Um, and in a way, so there's like multiple things in my head, right? Number one, I'm like, this is just filler.
Yeah.
This is filler. This has got nothing to do with the rest of the show. These are two characters who have their own deal. It doesn't really matter.
Right, because I mean, in the end, when their story arc is over, it's a oh, they're dead. Don't go in there. Let's just go raid their shit.
But well, it's not raid their shit. They left it for them.
No, but I'm just saying that was
Right, right, right,
that was the
right.
ultimate thing. It could have been a 5 minute sequence, and they dragged it out to the entire episode.
And if it was a woman and a man, and it was the same episode, it might have been less interesting. But because it's not something which is typical in this sort of genre, I guess
Agreed. Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit more interesting, and I, I think, and I don't know about the rest of the episode or whatever the next season. I think sometimes they're trying to move away from it's not The Walking Dead, right?
Okay, and I mean,
I,
yeah.
I think they're trying to say, well, here's a little glimpse of a couple of people being happy in the middle of this, but
Right.
I think they should have made that episode 45 minutes rather than an hour or 15 or whatever it was.
Right.
Um, like, but you know, and here's a sad thing. You know, it got kind of people say it's review bombed, right? People are like, oh, people are homophobic and stuff, and it's like I think that's too easy an answer, right? I think some people like I can see it. Some people will
Mhm.
probably just like I thought it was great, but it added nothing to the series, and it was a bit
Right.
of a waste of time.
And I'm not going to say it was a waste of time because I honestly wish that they would have taken those characters and even possibly set them in the same world, but move them out of this series because this series really revolves around um, Ellie and what's his name? What's his name?
Um,
Joe. Right? It revolves around them.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, it revolves around those two characters, and to be perfectly honest, everybody else is canon. Everybody else serves nothing but motivation for them in one
Cameron
form or
Potter.
another. Yeah. So these two side characters, while yes, it was a beautiful episode, it was brilliantly acted, it was well written, and it was really heartwarming to see. It really did not serve this story anything. It did not. It did not advance it at all.
I almost feel it was done on, like, I'm not going to say on purpose to annoy people, but like, if people like the games, and we can talk about the game, we can talk about part two where people got so upset about a video game, like
Right.
part two, people were like fucking insanely pissed about it. And it's not about Ellie having a girlfriend. It was other aspects of it, and it's like it's a video game,
Right.
and it's like you don't need to be so angry about things. This is like you can not like something, and that's fine, but people have like vitriol about it, and
Right.
I think that's an aspect of video games too, because you play through as a character for an entire game, and maybe you play through it multiple times, and you
Right.
connect to it because it's a narrative story.
Right.
And then something happens in the next game, and you're like, that's really good. But at the same time, it's just a video game. Like there's no need for it. so
Right. I agree.
so it's like I'm not really sure what the motivation for making that, but I'm glad they did, even though I think it didn't add anything to it. Just because I'm not going to watch that. I don't generally rewatch a TV series anyway.
Right.
And at the end of it, I was like, didn't really do much. But during it, like while I was watching it, I'm like, this is nice. You know,
It is nice. It is a nice little departure. I mean, it was nice. I did appreciate the way that they treated the characters because they went through all of the same things you see any other couple go through.
right?
You know, they were there for each other. They fought for each other. They helped each other. They fought with each other. They had doubts. They had, you know, it was beautiful, but was it necessary?
And
Probably not.
and I will say this: if that was like a male and female, I don't think I would have liked it as much.
Oh, I
I
agree. I don't think it would have been nearly as touching.
I think because it's different, a little different, and
Yeah.
unexpected to a
Yeah, I
certain.
agree because you even almost come. So I'm going to be perfectly honest here, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but even if it was two girls, you almost would expect that in this type of a setting. You rarely do you see two guys pairing off like that.
Well, especially older guys too, right?
Right. Right.
Well, I'm excited to see like if they follow the storyline of part two,
Hmm.
in the TV series. I'm very interested in seeing
So
the reaction.
let me ask you, what
Yes.
do you think about the casting for Bella Ramsey of Bella Ramsey? How do you think she's doing at playing Ellie?
Oh, I think she's got the perfect sass for it.
Yeah.
Obviously
I mean,
the,
she had that
the
girl. That little girl had sass in Game of Thrones,
right, the original character was supposed to be Elliot Page, right?
right?
And but I guess he couldn't, or she at the time couldn't, or didn't want to do it. But they really modeled that character, like the way she looks
Yeah,
after Elliot Page, and Bella Ramsey does not look like her,
right.
but I think that she brings enough. She almost, and it's not her; it's almost the writing.
Hmm.
She's almost like a little psycho in it.
Yep, agreed.
She's a little like I don't know if this person's right in the head. She could be a serial
Right.
killer.
Yeah, because I mean, the glee she got when she found the gun and stuck it in her bag it was almost maniacal. It
It's
was
not that.
great.
It's whenever she found that infected guy under the rubble,
Oh yes, yeah. When she cut him, oh my god.
and then she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill him now." I think so. The opening episode, right, had
Hmm.
had a lot from the original game.
It did.
Um, I think I still feel it needs to get going.
It needs to get going.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not saying it's slow, but I just feel that it needs to speed up a little bit.
Okay, that's fair.
um, I really like. Oh, by the way, and I think this would have been like I love Pedro Pascal,
Of course, who
but
doesn't?
I guess the guy from The Boys that played Soldier Boy.
Oh, Jensen Ackles.
Apparently, he wanted to be Joel.
He's too young.
No, he could have totally done it.
I don't know.
I would have liked to see him as Joel.
See. I'm gonna.
And,
This is gonna
this
sound.
is that's no disrespect to Pedro because he's
I think he's doing a phenomenal job personally, but I with Jensen Ackles, unfortunately, it's going to take a lot for him to break out of that whole Sam and Dean Winchester.
I've never seen it, so I've got no connection to that.
Yeah, but
I've only seen him in The Boy, and
even
he's
in
awesome.
My Bloody Valentine, in the remake of My Bloody My Bloody Valentine,
Oh,
I did
okay,
not like him.
okay, that's where I've seen him before. But
Yeah,
again, just like in my head, it's just him and The Boys as Soldier Boy.
Yeah,
and
right.
he's got that look and he's got that intensity that
He could. Yep.
I would have liked to have seen that too. But so I think we're going to get going with that. Have you ever seen a movie called The Girl with All the Gifts?
I have not. I'm going to be honest. I've passed it several times, but I've never watched it.
So the funny thing is, it's very like um, The Last of Us.
Okay.
And this movie came out, I think, in 2016. So it was after like the game came out, and I
Uh
guess the
huh.
author got a lot of shit. Like, you're just stealing all the ideas from this game. Let me bring up the synopsis. See if this sounds familiar.
Okay.
In a way, obviously, it's a little different, but. Uh, where is the synopsis? Synopsis. Storyline. Okay. So, in a dystopian near future, humanity has been ravaged by a mysterious fungal disease. The afflicted are robbed of all free will and turn into flesh eating hungries. Humankind's only hope is a small group of hybrid children who crave human flesh but retain the ability to think and feel. The children go to school, an army base, blah, 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 blah. But there's a particularly exceptional girl named Melanie, um, and they have to save her to see if they can save everyone else.
Okay.
Glenn Close is in it. It's actually a pretty good movie. It gets a little weird around the end, but whenever, because I watched it after I played The Last of Us, and I'm like, ooh, this is very like The Last of Us, because the infected are all fungal infected.
Hmm. Yeah, it sounds a little familiar.
Yeah. So Last of Us, I really, really, really think you should play the second one.
Okay.
It is. I think I've talked about it before. It's my favorite narrative, emotional game that I played, and
Okay. Yeah.
I hated it at times, but that made me love it more.
Okay.
Okay, so Last of Us, you're enjoying it. You'll keep watching it, right?
Yeah. Of course. I really. I have. I'm hard pressed to find anything I don't really like about the show. So I'll
Yeah,
continue.
I mean it's good. I with the new character, the woman. I hope it just doesn't fall into the Walking Dead syndrome, which is hard to avoid when you're talking about like a post-apocalyptic, basically zombie show.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It does have that.
Yeah,
It could easily fall that way.
right. Anyway, so what I have a number of things to talk about.
Okay,
So why don't
you
you
do it
talk?
because I really don't. I have one audiobook that I'm listening to called the Prof Croft series. It's
Urban
volumes five.
fantasy?
Yep, Urban Fantasies. This is books 5 through 8, and again, it's just lighthearted or lighter fare.
Well,
It's
so you read a lot of those.
I do lately
What sort of movies would you consider urban fantasies?
something like the Dark Tower.
Never seen it. Just heard it was shit.
So and so the problem with the movie The Dark Tower is that
Yeah,
they
four
tried to
books.
cram 3 books or 4 books into one 2 hour movie, and you can't do that. It just becomes a giant muddled mess.
Okay.
Um, so something like WandaVision
Harry
would
Potter.
not so much because that takes place in a wizarding world. This would have to be rooted at least in reality.
Right,
So if
but
he had stayed in London, yes.
yeah, but
So more like the Fantastic Beasts, the first movie, Fantastic Beasts and
no,
Where to Find Them.
I was going to say,
So
don't we go back to the normal world at some point?
he does, but he not a whole lot of the action takes place there. Um,
And
this
there's that new Hogwarts game too.
right. So it would be that kind of movie. I'm trying to think. Um, the Nick Cage movie that he did, the Disney movie, The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Haven't seen it.
So that takes place in, I believe, in New York. So that would be something like an urban fantasy.
Hmm. Okay.
Other than that's I've been binging Cheers and Frasier.
I'm listening. Is this because I've been psychoanalyzing you?
No, honestly, it started with Cheers. I've been binging that off and on for about 3 months now.
I'm not a big sitcom guy, but I love Frasier.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying it because it just it's nostalgia for me. It takes me back. I loved it when it was originally on the air.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Even though Kelsey Grammer is apparently a bit of an ass in real life, but whatever.
So I hear. But that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, so starting from the top,
Boom.
I watched the 2022 movie, The Lair.
I don't think I know that one.
You might know the director, Neil Marshall.
I do know the name.
So Neil Marshall directed Dog Soldiers,
Yep.
The Descent,
Oh yes, of course.
Centurion, Doomsday, all of which I think were really good to fantastic. He also
Okay.
made the most recent Hellboy remake
Okay.
with the guy from Stranger Things, David Harbour,
I
which
yeah.
which was pretty shit.
You know, I'm not mad at it. I
It,
do I think it was great? No, not so much.
so much of it didn't land for me.
Yeah.
Um, and again, it's Neil Marshall. I'm like, wow, of the four movies that I've seen, I really love, like, pretty much, like, at least 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 for all of them. And Dog Soldiers is probably my second favorite werewolf movie.
I loved I did not see Dog Soldiers until last year and I love it. I think it's a great film.
Yeah, fantastic. So I have my expectations very high, even after watching Hellboy, and it's like, oh well, that's a studio movie, so maybe the studio fucked it up or something. So I watched The Lair on
Okay.
Shudder, and this is about a Air Force pilot, and she is shot down in Afghanistan. It's a UK Air Force. Um,
Okay.
she is trying to get away from the Taliban.
Okay.
I think it's the Taliban, and she finds this bunker, this like Russian bunker. She goes down there, and then there's these like kind of like the Winter Soldier.
Right.
These, but they're like creatures, and they're let loose.
Okay.
And this movie is barely sci-fi level
Hmm.
of terrible acting, terrible writing, um, B movie, guys in rubber suits, bullshit.
Okay. So you liked it.
I was
7 out of 10 for you?
no, I rate things as they should be, Jim. Not in your weird scale.
Okay. So
Um,
9 out of 10 then.
no, if it's a bad movie, I'll call it out. If it's a good movie, I will pump it up.
Okay, so
Like
give
you,
me a rating.
a good
So
movie.
we got
If it's
We
a good
got
movie, it's
out
five.
of 10.
If it's a bad movie, it's two. No, no,
Uh,
no. I actually give
so,
normal ratings for like that a
okay.
normal human being would
So
use.
out of 10 werewolves, what would you give this movie?
I gave this a 1.5 out of 5.
That's no, no, out of 10. I said 10,
Right,
sir.
right. So, but I'm looking at the app that I use. So you can say,
You,
um,
you're going to have to adjust for
3
inflation then.
out of 10 if you want to like put math to it. This,
Okay.
this. I mean, the direction wasn't bad. The effects were terrible. The character motivations were terrible. Everything was basically really bad. And it's such a shame that what a great director has become, unfortunately. But still making a paycheck. Um,
Yeah.
I'm going to skip around one of them and talk about some other ones because I want to get back around to this one, have a bit more of a chat about it. I watched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Oh, and what did you think?
Um, so there's a big Chadwick Boseman hole in this, right? Which
Yes.
was obviously going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, Now, when we talk about the first Black Panther, I thought it was mid-tier Marvel. I thought it
Okay.
was a 7 out of 10. It was perfectly fine.
Wait,
Um,
wait, 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 wait.
yeah,
7 out of 10 is mid tier?
yeah, mid-tier Marvel. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think Marvel. Well, whenever we're talking about like uh, the last number of years, like the end of Phase 3, start of Phase 4, I think they've been generally pretty good. I mean, there's none of them I'm like, oh, this is utter shit.
Okay.
The Eternals, maybe, but I mean, they're. Yeah, I'm not going to say they're cookie cutter because they do have different directors and different things. Thor, Love and Thunder, that wasn't very good. Okay, so maybe I take that down a little bit, but but I think general, like I put myself back in the mid '80s, right, reading comics and looking at the comic book movies of those times, right?
Right.
I think we're spoiled, utterly spoiled, and if something's not like Avengers Endgame or Infinity War or like the new Batman or something that really knock it out of the park, you think, oh well, everything else is shit. No, it's not. They're still really good. There's a lot of them, yeah, but they're still really good.
If you say so. I'm not much of a
But if you
superhero fan.
right, if you're not a comic book fan, that's fine. That's fair enough, and
Right.
it's not for you. But if you're a comic book fan, we've been totally spoiled for great movies since kind of like X-Men.
And some of them are
There's
okay.
been a number of duds, but I mean, generally, it's been
It's
like
okay.
you wouldn't have believed it as a kid growing up loving comic books.
Right.
So I look through that lens at it. Wakanda Forever. I found this a, a bit better than the first one. I thought the the effects were good. I thought the quote unquote bad guys' motivations were weak. I thought it was overly long, um, but the performances were really good.
Okay.
Um, so it's on Disney Plus.
Hmm.
I mean, if you've got a couple hours or an hour, or in fact, it's too long. It's 2.5 hours. It should have been 2 hours. And you want to put something on which is good. If you like comic book movies, it's fine. That's probably
Okay.
that. You can see the review online. Mark says it's fine. Um, Me and the ball and chain, the
I'm
wife
telling her you said that.
went out to the movies.
Mm.
to watch Brandon Cronenberg's Infinity Pool.
Yeah, and
Well, hang on. That was a very dismissive sigh. Have you seen it?
I have not.
So why are you sighing and like and?
I honestly, I feel like from the trailers that I've seen and the feedback I've gotten from others that have seen it, it feels like this is going to be a high concept artsy type film, and those don't always resonate well with me.
It, um, it's not so artsy. There's certain. So here's the way I would put it, and I don't know if you'll understand, but maybe somebody in our audience will. I felt it was like a feature length Black Mirror episode filmed by Ken Russell,
Well, I did like Black Mirror.
right? But you don't know who Ken Russell is, right?
I don't.
Okay. Um, People out there will. So this is arty, but it's not like arty that is so out there that it's not understandable. There's still
Okay.
a plot there, and there's still people doing things. I liked it well enough. I,
Okay.
I again, I thought it was like a 7 out of 10. I thought the concept was interesting. I'm not. Do you know what the concept is?
No, I really have gotten zero because I'm not gonna lie. To be honest, I'm not a Mia Goth fan.
I, like one person would not put me off a movie.
No, I'm just saying that so there's not anything that I've seen in either the trailers or in the casting other than Alexander Skarsgård because he's usually generally very good in everything I've seen him in. There's not much of a draw to this movie for me.
Well, I mean, the draw is the story, right, and the visuals and the experience. It's not just who's in it.
Maybe not for you.
So, so hang on. So, if there was a great concept and a great director, but you didn't like any of the actors, you wouldn't watch it.
The, yeah, pretty much.
Like, how much do you pay Ray?
Listen, I do have to give Ray props. He actually cooked dinner tonight.
Well, good for him. What did you rate it? Like 2 out of 10.
I did not rate it.
I
I
did
just said
not
thank
like
you.
the ingredients.
I just said thank you, and I ate it like a good boy.
Thank you, and then you're like scraping the plate off to the dogs.
Yeah. No, no, they were. It was just hamburgers. It was good.
Anyway, so the basic concept is Skarsgård and his girlfriend are at a resort. They kind of get co-opted by Mia Goth and her husband to kind of go off the resort, and something happens where they get in trouble, and Skarsgård is basically in jail or put into the local jail with the I don't remember his name. He's a good actor. That there's like an investigator guy, and he's like, okay, well, basically, what's going to happen here is you can get executed because we're this like weird. It's kind of like South American with what they're doing. Um, you can be executed, or you can pay us like a lot of money, and we can make a double of you, and he'll be executed in your place, and you'll be free to go. Uh,
Okay.
so that's kind of the high concept thing, and it's Mia Goth and her husband, and they're kind of nefarious about certain things, and it's all about, hey, if you're rich, you can get away with anything,
So sort of like Society.
right? Yeah, I mean there is a lot of that in it, but it's a lot about if you can get away with anything, what's stopping you being a terrible person?
That's true.
Although I don't think the concept was fully explored, and there's certain strange parts about it. I mean, there's a probably a 10-minute weird trippy orgy part, and like, okay, you're just trying to be shocking. Uh,
Right.
but I thought it could have been more violent. I heard it was very like I haven't seen Possessor or any of the other Brandon Cronenberg stuff. Um,
Right.
but I, if you want to see something a little different, if you don't like Mia Goth, I think I've only ever seen her in. She was in Nymphomaniac, and she was in Suspiria, the remake. I don't
Well,
think
and
I've.
then she was in X, and she's got
Yeah,
Maxine coming out.
I haven't seen X or Pearl. So I think those are the only two things that I've seen her in. But even my wife was like, "Oh yeah," she was getting a bit screechy.
Yeah, and she was.
Yeah, I kind of get that. But overall, if it comes on to streaming, I give it a go.
Yeah, and I probably will.
I think there's worse things to watch. At least it's interesting. It's not too arty farty that it's like. And I'll get to that in a second. Uh,
Okay.
so another thing I watched was on Shutter. Sorry about the demon.
What is that one about? Because that sounds like it could be funny.
This is a horror comedy or comedy horror, I should say, about this guy who's a bit of a loser. I'll put that in quotes because I don't like these movies where they have like this really hot girlfriend,
Right.
but he's a loser. Like,
Okay.
it just seems weird to me. Just give them then not such a hot girlfriend, who is kind of tricked into moving into this house where the previous occupants, their little girl was possessed, and there's a demon living there who who has to make a sacrifice. So they trick him into going there, thinking because he's such a loser, the demon will just take him as a sacrifice, and they can move back in.
Okay.
This movie, it took me a few goes to get through, which is weird because it's not bad,
Right.
but it's just not that funny, and it's just not that horrific.
Okay.
It's just so, like I say, kind of bland, but it's well directed and it's pretty well acted and it's okay written. So I don't know why it took me a few goes to get through. I think it was just bland, and like I wish you'd taken a little bit more chances, either with
Okay.
comedy or with the horror. But it was just very it was almost like a kind of boring sitcom.
Okay.
Not to put people off because I think this is somebody's probably first movie, and it was competent. It just wasn't anything particularly engaging.
Right. So in pieces, it's okay. The writing, the acting, blah, blah, blah. It just doesn't gel for some reason.
Right? It just doesn't come together as something which is, oh yeah, I can't wait to finish that. It was like I've started it and it's not bad, so I might as well finish it.
Okay.
It was totally unoffensive, but just kind of bland.
Okay.
Um, I've started watching Into the Darkness Part 3. Have you watched any of those documentaries?
No, I have not.
So, Into the Darkness Part 1 and Part 2 and Part 3 are basically talking heads and going into specific movies in the 80s.
Okay.
And they're all like 3 hours, 4 hours, or whatever long each.
Okay.
The first one was decent, but it just went over the movie like Friday the 13th and Halloween 2 and um, Child's Play. I'm like, it was interesting enough, but I already know everything about these movies because I've watched a million things about them already, right?
Right.
Part 2 is much better because it went into, I wouldn't say totally obscure, but not those like Nightmare on Elm Street or. So it was much more interesting. I'm only a little way into part 3, but again, it's going into more interesting like Bloody Birthday and Happy Birthday to Me and da da da. Ones that are more that aren't just the normal staples of the 80s stuff that you hear everything
Right.
about all the time. So, yeah, I mean, if you're new to horror and you want to get into the 80s stuff, definitely watch part 1.
Okay.
If you already know most of the stuff about 80s stuff, get into part 2 and 3.
Okay.
Now, fucking
Finally.
finally. So, I don't know if you've heard about this movie. Apparently, you're on the ticker talker.
Are you going to talk about Skinamarink?
I am.
Okay. Talk about it. I haven't seen it.
So, apparently, this is a genre called analog horror.
Okay.
Mm. And I made it about 25 minutes in, and that was
Okay. And what was it that turned you off?
let me just talk about what I've heard as far
Okay.
as people saying it's so scary, right? You know, and not to be the old man raging at the cloud above, right? Oh, young people. Um, People are saying it's like I don't know what's. I don't really believe in this generation stuff. What is it, Gen Z now? Gen X, Gen Z, whatever. Like the newest generation, right? Probably born in 2000 or something.
I think that's Gen Z because we're Gen X.
I don't believe in that shit anymore. But anyway, so it's supposed to be about imagine when you're a child and you're left alone at home. Ooh.
I
And
don't have to. I don't have to imagine.
well,
We were.
your childhood is the stuff of nightmares. Objectively, I don't mean for any generation, but this is supposed to be like, hey, imagine. Remember when you were 5 and you got up at night and you know maybe your parents weren't there or something. But this is like I want you to watch. I want you to watch at least like 10 minutes of it.
Okay.
Like watch 10 minutes of it because I want to see what your opinion is.
Okay.
It's like whenever they're talking about analog horror, so you've got static on the screen, right? So it's like the 80s, like
Right. So I looked that up, and that's exactly what it is. Where the graphics and the aesthetic are set back in the 80s.
right, which doesn't
Um,
make any sense if it's supposed to be for this most recent generation for a start, right?
right.
Um, but then all it is like static shots of the angles on like where the wall meets the ceiling. And then it's like a shot on the ground, like on the walls. And it just sits there. And then you'll get some off screen kid saying, oh, how are you doing? And then it'll be another static shot of another wall. And then
Okay.
another static shot of the corner of a wall. And they'll be like, and then it'll be in. I'm like I got through. Like I don't. I guess for if you have insomnia, it might be good, or if you enjoy watching paint dry. But this, I don't know. It's supposed to be like existential horror as like a kid. I'm like, I don't remember being a kid and just staring at the corner of a ceiling
No,
and being terrified of it.
no.
And I hear people that, well, you put your imagination into it. Well, that's fine. I can just look at my own wall and use my imagination. I don't
Right.
sit here and watch some sort of shitty static like, it, like, and I thought Paranormal Activity was boring. This, like, God love these people who love it. Absolutely, great. Enjoy yourself. And this is like 110 minutes long or something, or 100 minutes long.
Yeah, I couldn't do that, but I'll check it out. I'll see if I can make it through any more than you did.
Yeah, watch 20 minutes of watch it with Ray.
Oh God, no.
No, please. I would like to hear both of your opinions.
You know he's not going to come on here and tell you his opinion.
No. You could just tell me offline.
Okay.
And just tell me what both of you think of it, because I put it on for my wife and I'm like, this is. She's like, this is kind of interesting. I'm like, what? How? I don't know where it's going. Well, of course, because it's just walls.
Right.
It's just walls and like weird ASMR kids talking off screen.
I hate that stuff.
Where's Jenny? And then it's like I, in a way, kudos to the director, because I could have made that movie on $2 and my phone.
Okay.
I think that's it. I think that's all my complaining over. So I didn't have that great a week with movie watching, but
Yeah, me
there
either.
was a couple of good things, a couple of shitty things, and then Skinamarink, which can just fuck right off.
So I did invite the organizers of the Phantasm Convention in Orlando on. I haven't heard back from them yet, so stay tuned.
Phantasm?
Mm-hmm. It's one of
Like,
the newer cons that happens in Orlando.
is it based around Phantasm?
No,
Oh,
no, it's FAN.
oh. Yeah, and we were supposed to have Mike on from Chin Stroker versus Punter, but he's in New Zealand, and it's hard to figure out the different time zones because they're like 18 hours ahead of us. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully next week.
Hopefully.
And Jim will have listened to their 10 plus years of podcasts.
Oh, all 10 years in 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
can be
doable.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else, Mark. Do you?
So hang on. So why don't you say a little bit more about the Phantasm? You said
Oh, so it's one of the smaller conventions. This is their 4th year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray's been 1 year. We've both been to it 1 year, and Ray went to it by himself another year. And it's growing. So I'm interested to see what it's going to be like this year.
Is it horror or is it like genre?
Yeah, it is horror. Hold on a second. Like, I know Felissa Rose is supposed to be there this year from Sleepaway Camp
Yep.
fame. There's a couple others. Hang on. Phantasm. Rob Mello from Happy Death Day is going to be there. Amelia Kincaid from Night of the Demons. Who else? And then Nick Benson, who was a makeup artist on Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Tremors, and Night of the Demons will be there.
Hmm.
And that's all they've announced so far.
Yeah.
But
It's becoming like a cottage industry.
Yeah. But this the only complaint I had about the place when I went was that the space was a bit too small, so traffic was a bit of a nightmare. Like, and I mean people traffic when you're trying to walk through the booths.
Right.
That's the only complaint I had about when we visited there. Um, but again, I've only been 1 year so far, so I'm interested to see what it looks like this year.
Yeah, the
And
wife.
it's happening. What's that?
I was going to say the wife wants to go to, I think, MegaCon or something because Chevy Chase is going.
Oh,
Like, but he's charging like $140 for a signature.
wow.
Yeah, apparently he's a fucking asshole too.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Sorry.
It's okay. But anyway, that's all I have, Mark. Otherwise, we'll just keep doing what we do, right?
We'll keep on talking shit.
That's right.
If you're fucking wrong about Alien Resurrection,
No, I'm not. You're wrong. You're wrong, and you know it. Okay. Thank you, folks, for listening to our dribble. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, everyone.
Fuck you.
It's all for
Okay.
it's free entertainment.
Look, this is the first time I've dropped the F-bomb this episode, so that's a record.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway,
Bye,
on that note, bye everybody. Thanks.